Close your eyes for a moment and feel the weight of the world beneath you. Now, as you settle into your bed, you are resting on a foundation that is billions of years old. Beneath the soft sheets and the quiet of your room, there is a world of ancient stone, liquid fire, and secrets that have been buried since the dawn of time. We aren't just looking at the ground. We are journeying deep into the Earth's silent heart. We will explore the slow-motion dance of continents, the birth of crystals in total darkness, and the memories held by rocks that saw the first sunrise. Weight of your body sink deeper into your mattress. Leave the noise of the surface behind. It's time to listen to the oldest story ever told. Fact 1. The liquid engine of time. Imagine, as you lie perfectly still, that thousands of miles beneath your bed, there is a world of roaring liquid fire. Earth's outer core is a vast ocean of molten iron and nickel, swirling in constant, slow motion. This liquid metal acts like a giant conductor, creating an invisible magnetic shield that stretches far into space. Without this silent, burning engine, the sun's radiation would have stripped away our atmosphere long ago. It is the deep, hidden guardian of life, a burning heart that has never stopped beating for over 4 billion years, providing the very stability that allows us to dream in peace tonight. Fact 2. The memory of the deep abyss. At the bottom of the deepest oceans, where sunlight has never reached and the pressure is enough to crush a skyscraper, the Earth's crust is being born anew. Through giant cracks in the ocean floor, red-hot magma seeps out, meeting the freezing seawater and instantly hardening into fresh stone. This is the pulse of the planet, the constant creation of new land. These volcanic vents, known as black smokers, release minerals that create small chimneys of rock, standing like silent, dark towers in the absolute stillness of the abyss. It is a place of eternal midnight, where time seems to stand still while the world above continues its chaotic dance. Fact 3. The sleeping giant of Tethys. The rocks that form the peak of Mount Everest were once soft mud at the bottom of a tropical sea. Over millions of years, the slow but unstoppable collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates pushed this ancient seabed upwards, miles into the sky. Today, you can find the fossils of tiny sea creatures and ammonites frozen in the limestone of the highest summits on Earth. These fossils have traveled from the darkest depths of the ocean to the edge of space, carried by the slow, grinding power of the Earth's crust. It is a reminder that the mountains we see as permanent are merely waves of stone, moving in a rhythm too slow for us to perceive. Fact 4. The Crystal Cathedral of Time. Deep within the Naka mine in Mexico, there exists a chamber of giant selenite crystals so large they dwarf any human. These pillars of translucent white light grew in total darkness, submerged in mineral-rich water for over 500,000 years. The water was kept at a perfect, unchanging temperature by the magma chambers far below, allowing the crystals to grow undisturbed into massive, geometric masterpieces. Walking through this cave would be like walking through a cathedral made of frozen time. They stand as a silent testament to what nature can achieve when it is left in absolute, undisturbed solitude for 500,000 years. Fact 5. The whispers of the zircon. There are tiny crystals, no larger than a grain of sand, called zircons, that are the oldest known objects on our planet. Some have been found that are 4.4 billion years old, meaning they existed when the Earth was just a cooling ball of fire. These tiny stones have survived everything: the birth of the moon, the first rain that formed the oceans, and the rise and fall of every empire in history. When you hold a rock containing these crystals, you are touching the original memory of the world. They are indestructible time capsules, holding the chemical secrets of a prehistoric Earth, resting quietly in the soil, patient and eternal. Fact 6. The rivers of solid rock. Deep beneath the Earth's crust lies the mantle, a layer nearly 3,000 kilometers thick. While we think of rock as something hard and unyielding, the mantle behaves like a very thick, slow-moving liquid over millions of years. Huge currents of hot rock rise and fall in a process called convection, acting like a slow-motion conveyor belt that carries the continents on its back. This movement is so slow that it would take 1,000 years for a piece of rock to move just a few meters. It is a silent, subterranean ocean of stone, churning in the dark, shaping the face of our world while the surface remains deceptively still. Fact 7. The ghost of the ancient ocean. There are places in the middle of vast, dry deserts where you can find the remains of ancient whale skeletons and prehistoric sharks. These are the ghost oceans, regions that were once teeming with marine life millions of years ago before the Earth's crust shifted and the waters receded. The sand dunes of the Sahara now cover what was once a deep blue abyss. When the wind blows, it uncovers the limestone bones of creatures that swam in a world that no longer exists. It is a haunting reminder that the Earth is a living map, constantly rewriting its own geography in a long, silent cycle of change. Fact 8. The diamonds of the deep. Diamonds are not born near the surface. They are forged in the diamond stability zone, over 150 kilometers deep in the Earth's mantle. Under unimaginable heat and pressure, simple carbon atoms are crushed into the hardest natural substance known to man. These precious stones stay trapped in the dark for billions of years until a rare type of deep-seated volcanic eruption, called a kimberlite pipe, shoots them toward the surface at supersonic speeds. Every diamond you see is a messenger from the deep interior, a sparkling fragment of the Earth's ancient, pressurized heart. Fact 9. The fossilized raindrops. Geology has the power to freeze a single moment in time for eternity. In certain rare rock formations, scientists have found fossilized raindrops, the tiny indentations made by a rain shower that fell over 2 billion years ago. The soft mud was dried by the sun and then quickly covered by volcanic ash or more sediment, preserving the exact pattern of a prehistoric storm. It is a profound thought. A fleeting second of rain, falling on a lonely shore before even the dinosaurs existed, is still visible today. It shows that even the smallest, most delicate moments are never truly lost to the Earth. Fact 10. The eternal granite pulse. Granite is the foundation of our continents, a rock formed from the slow cooling of magma deep underground. Unlike volcanic lava that cools quickly, granite takes thousands of years to solidify, allowing large, beautiful crystals of quartz and feldspar to grow within it. Because it is so dense and resistant to erosion, granite forms the core of the world's greatest mountain ranges. It is the bones of the Earth, strong, silent, and nearly eternal. As you drift off to sleep, remember that beneath the soil and the sand, there is a foundation of ancient stone that has stood firm for eons, holding the world together in a peaceful, unshakable grip. Fact 11. The silent cave of giants. Imagine a world hidden miles below the surface, where oxygen is scarce and the heat is overwhelming. In the cave of the crystals, giant beams of selenite, some as thick as tree trunks and 30 feet long, crisscross the dark chambers. These crystals have been growing in total, undisturbed silence for over 500,000 years, nourished by mineral-rich water heated by the magma below. It is a crystalline forest where time has no meaning, standing as a silent monument to the slow and patient craftsmanship of the Earth. Fact 12. The iron heart spin. The solid iron inner core of our planet doesn't just sit still, it spins. Recent scientific discoveries suggest that this massive ball of metal, roughly the size of the moon, can rotate at a different speed than the rest of the planet. This deep internal movement is what keeps our world alive, creating the friction and heat necessary to maintain our protective magnetic field. It is a rhythmic planetary pulse that happens deep beneath your feet, a constant motion that secures our atmosphere while you sleep in perfect stillness. Fact 13. The echo of ancient volcanism. The Deccan Traps in India are the remains of one of the largest volcanic features on Earth, a series of ancient lava flows that once covered an area the size of modern-day France. This wasn't a single explosion, but a slow, oozing release of liquid fire that lasted for nearly 1,000,000 years. Today, these layers of basalt rock stand as flat-topped mountains, their dark stones holding the memory of a time when the Earth breathed fire, slowly cooling into the peaceful landscapes we see today. Fact 14. The deep water cycle. Most people think all of Earth's water is in the oceans or the clouds, but there is a hidden ocean locked deep inside the Earth's mantle. Scientists believe that a mineral called ringwoodite, located hundreds of miles down, holds more water than all the surface oceans combined. This water isn't liquid. It is trapped inside the molecular structure of the rock itself. It is a vast, subterranean reservoir that has been there for billions of years, a silent ocean of stone that balances the very life cycle of our planet. Fact 15. The fossilized forests of stone. In certain corners of the world, there are forests where the trees have turned to solid jewels. Millions of years ago, ancient trees were buried under volcanic ash and mineral-rich water. Over eons, the wood was slowly replaced by silica, pyrite, and even opal, preserving every ring and bark texture in shimmering stone. These petrified forests are places where biology has become geology, where the living breath of a tree has been frozen into an eternal, crystalline form that will never decay. Fact 16. The grinding song of glaciers. Glaciers are not just blocks of ice. They are massive, slow-moving rivers of frost that reshape the Earth's bones. As a glacier moves, it grinds the mountains beneath it into a fine powder known as rock flour. This process carves out deep, U-shaped valleys and majestic fjords over thousands of years. The weight of the ice is so immense that it actually depresses the Earth's crust, pushing it down into the mantle. It is a slow, cold transformation that proves even the hardest granite must eventually yield to the patient pressure of ice. Fact 17. The floating islands of pumice. Nature creates a rock that can actually defy gravity in water. During underwater volcanic eruptions, lava cooled so quickly that gas bubbles remained trapped inside, creating a stone called pumice. These stones are so light and porous that they can form giant pumice rafts, floating islands of rock that can drift across entire oceans for years. They carry tiny organisms to new lands, acting as a bridge between worlds, born from fire but destined to wander the waves in total silence. Fact 18. The salt cathedrals. Deep underground, there are vast cathedrals made entirely of salt. These are the remnants of ancient seas that evaporated millions of years ago, leaving behind thick layers of sodium chloride. Over time, tectonic forces pushed these layers into giant salt domes. Some of these mines are so vast that humans have carved entire cities and chapels into them. Walking through these halls is like walking through the dried memory of a prehistoric ocean, where the air is still and the walls glitter like starlight. Fact 19. The magnetic memory of basalt. When volcanic lava cools into basalt on the ocean floor, the iron minerals inside it align themselves with the Earth's magnetic north. This creates a permanent magnetic record of the planet's history. By studying these rocks, Scientists have discovered that Earth's magnetic poles have flipped many times throughout history, north becoming south and south becoming north. The rocks beneath the sea are like a giant magnetic tape recorder, silently storing the secrets of our planet's shifting energy. Fact 20. The silent shift of fault lines. Not all earthquakes are violent. There is a phenomenon called slow slip events or silent earthquakes, where tectonic plates slide past each other over days or weeks instead of seconds. These movements release as much energy as a massive earthquake, but they happen so slowly and quietly that no one on the surface feels a thing. It is a graceful adjustment of the Earth's crust, a quiet sigh of the planet as it settles into a new position, releasing the tension of centuries in total secrecy. Fact 21. The birth of a volcano. Every volcano begins as a hot spot or a fracture deep in the crust where magma finds a path to the surface. It can take tens of thousands of years of small, quiet eruptions to build a mountain from the sea floor. The islands of Hawaii were formed this way, rising from the dark abyss of the Pacific Ocean, layer by layer until they pierced the clouds. It is a testament to the power of persistence, how a single spark of heat from the mantle can eventually create a paradise. Fact 22. The gold of the stars. The gold found in the Earth's crust didn't originate here. Billions of years ago, cataclysmic explosions of distant stars, supernovas, and collisions of neutron stars showered the early Earth with precious metals. As the Earth cooled, this star stuff was buried deep within the rocks. Every gold ring or coin is literally a piece of an exploded star, brought to the surface by volcanic activity and the slow shifting of the Earth's layers. You are wearing the ancient history of the cosmos, forged in fire and buried in stone. Fact 23. The wisdom of stalactites. Inside the world's deepest caverns, stalactites hang from the ceilings like stone icicles. These formations grow one drop of water at a time. As water seeps through limestone, it picks up calcite, leaving behind a tiny ring of mineral as it falls. A single inch of a stalactite can take over 100 years to grow. They are the slow-motion clocks of the underground, dripping in the darkness for millennia, marking the passage of time in a world where the sun never rises. Fact 24. The moving stones of Death Valley. In the dry lake beds of Death Valley, there are sailing stones that move across the flat desert floor, leaving long tracks behind them. For decades, it was a mystery how these heavy rocks moved without any human or animal help. We now know that on rare, cold nights, a thin layer of ice forms under the stones, and as it melts, even a light breeze allows the rocks to glide silently across the mud. It is a ghostly, slow-motion race that happens only when the world is freezing and still. Fact 25. The layered history of Grand Canyon. The walls of the Grand Canyon are a vertical timeline of Earth's life. As you look down from the rim, you are looking through nearly 2 billion years of history. The rocks at the very bottom, the Vishnu schist, are so old they were formed before there was any life on land. The canyon wasn't carved by a sudden force, but by the patient, persistent flow of the Colorado River over 6 million years. It is a masterpiece of erosion, proving that even the softest water can eventually cut through the hardest stone if given enough time. Fact 26. The invisible mountains of the mantle. We often think of mountains as surface features, but deep within the Earth's mantle, there are mountains that dwarf Everest. Located at the boundary between the core and the mantle, these massive structures are hundreds of kilometers high and thousands of kilometers wide. Scientists call them large low-shear velocity provinces. They are made of different, denser material than the surrounding rock and have remained stable for billions of years. They sit like dark, silent continents at the bottom of the world, influencing the flow of heat and magma that eventually shapes the surface we live on. Fact 27. The underground echo of the Big Bang. Deep inside certain ancient rocks, there are traces of helium-3, a rare gas that was formed during the Big Bang. While most of this gas escaped into space when Earth was still a molten ball, some of it became trapped in the deep mantle. Every time a volcano erupts from a deep-seated hotspot, a tiny amount of this primordial gas is released back into the atmosphere. It is a haunting thought that as you breathe the night air, you might be inhaling an atom that was born at the very beginning of the universe, preserved for billions of years in the cold, dark silence of the Earth's interior. Fact 28. The obsidian mirrors of fire. When lava with a very high silica content cools almost instantly, usually by flowing into water, it doesn't have time to form crystals. Instead, it turns into obsidian, a natural volcanic glass. Obsidian is so smooth and sharp that its edge can be thinner than a surgeon's scalpel. In ancient times, it was used as mirrors to gaze into the unknown. It is a stone born of extreme violence and heat, yet it results in something perfectly still, dark and reflective. A frozen piece of liquid fire that captures the light of the stars in its jet-black surface. Fact 29. The singing sands of the desert. In certain remote deserts, the sand dunes have a voice. When the wind moves the grains or someone walks upon them, they emit a low, droning hum that can sound like a choir or a distant pipe organ. This happens because the sand grains are perfectly round and contain silica, creating friction that vibrates at a specific frequency. These singing sands can be heard for miles in the desert's silence, a ghostly melody played by the earth itself, reminding us that even the most barren landscapes are alive with hidden vibrations. Fact 30. The ancient shield of Canada. The Canadian Shield is one of the oldest geological faces of the Earth. It is a massive area of exposed Precambrian rock that has remained stable for over 3 billion years. While the rest of the world's crust was being folded into mountains or swallowed by oceans, this craton stood firm. When you stand on its granite surface, you are standing on the original foundation of the North American continent. It has felt the weight of countless ice ages and seen the birth of the first life forms, yet it remains unchanged, a silent, stony witness to the passage of eons. Fact 31. The mystery of the Moho. There is a boundary inside the Earth called the Mohorovičić discontinuity. Fact 33. The continental shelf's silent edge. If you were to walk out into the ocean, you would eventually reach the continental slope, the true edge of the continent. Here, the seafloor suddenly drops away into the abyss, plunging thousands of feet down. This underwater cliff marks the transition from the light-filled shelf to the eternal darkness of the deep ocean floor. It is a place of massive underwater landslides and silent currents, where the weight of the entire ocean presses against the stone, and the only sound is the low-frequency groan of the earth settling under the pressure. Fact 34. The slow birth of amber. Amber is a bridge between the world of plants and the world of stones. It begins as sticky resin from ancient trees, dripping down to trap insects, leaves, and even small feathers. Over millions of years, as the forest is buried, the resin undergoes a chemical transformation called polymerization, hardening into a golden, translucent gem. Inside a piece of amber, time is perfectly preserved. A gnat that flew 60 million years ago is frozen in midair, its delicate wings still intact. It is a golden tomb of memory, a piece of ancient sunlight caught in the grip of the earth. Fact 35. The magnetic reversal mystery. Every few 100,000 years, the Earth's magnetic field does something extraordinary. It flips. North becomes south and south becomes north. This process is recorded in the iron-rich minerals of the mid-ocean ridges. As new crust is formed, it freezes the current magnetic direction. These magnetic stripes on the seafloor show that our planet's energy is not constant. It is a shifting, breathing force. We are currently living in a period of relative stability, but deep in the core, the liquid iron is already swirling in new patterns, preparing for the next great reversal millions of years from now. Fact 36. The agates of volcanic bubbles. Agates are born inside the bubbles of cooling lava. When a volcanic eruption ends, gas pockets are left behind in the rock. Over thousands of years, silica-rich water seeps into these hollow spaces, depositing layer after layer of microcrystals. This creates the beautiful, concentric bands of color we see when an agate is cut open. Each band represents a different moment in time, a change in water chemistry or temperature. They are the rings of a stone tree, a colorful record of the Earth's slow cooling and the patient flow of minerals through the dark. Fact 37. The White Cliffs of Time. The famous White Cliffs of Dover are not made of sand or stone, but of the skeletons of trillions of microscopic sea creatures called coccolithophores. These tiny organisms lived in the sunlit layers of ancient seas, and when they died, their calcium carbonate shells sank to the bottom, forming a thick white ooze. Over millions of years, this ooze was compressed into chalk and lifted high above the waves. Every inch of those massive white walls is the collective legacy of 1 billion lives, a monument of biological time standing against the crashing tide. Fact 38. The deep breath of tectonic subduction. At subduction zones, one tectonic plate is forced beneath another, diving deep back into the mantle. As the plate sinks, it carries water and carbon from the ocean floor with it. This water lowers the melting point of the surrounding rock, creating magma that eventually rises to form volcanoes. This is the Earth's way of recycling its surface, a slow-motion breath where the crust is inhaled into the fire of the mantle, only to be exhaled millions of years later as fresh volcanic ash and new mountains. Fact 39. The Iron Rain of the early Earth. Shortly after the Earth formed, it was so hot that it was a sphere of molten magma. During this time, a process called differentiation occurred. The heaviest elements, primarily iron and nickel, began to sink through the liquid rock, falling toward the center like a slow, metallic rainstorm. This concentrated the heavy metals at the core and left the lighter silicates to form the mantle and crust. Our core is the result of a planetary-scale filtration, a massive settling of metal that gave our world its solid foundation and its gravitational heart. Fact 40. The geodes' hidden hearts. Geodes look like ordinary, dull rocks on the outside, but their interiors hold a secret world of shimmering crystals. Formed in volcanic or sedimentary cavities, they are the hidden treasures of the geological world. Water containing dissolved minerals seeps through the porous shell, slowly growing crystals of amethyst, quartz, or calcite inward toward the center. A geode can sit in the soil for 10 million years, looking like a simple stone, while inside, a magnificent crystalline cathedral has been quietly perfecting its shape in the dark. Fact 41. The ancient glacial erratic. Sometimes, in the middle of a flat field, you will find a massive boulder that doesn't match any of the rocks around it. These are called erratics. Thousands of years ago, they were picked up by massive glaciers and carried for hundreds of miles. When the ice finally melted at the end of the last ice age, it gently deposited these giant stones in their new homes. They are the lonely travelers of the ice, sitting quietly in landscapes where they don't belong, a silent reminder of a time when the world was covered in a sheet of frozen white. Fact 42. The slow death of the Mediterranean. 6 million years ago, the Mediterranean Sea completely dried up in an event called the Messinian Salinity Crisis. The Strait of Gibraltar closed, and the sun evaporated the water, leaving behind a vast, white desert of salt miles below sea level. For thousands of years, it was a scorched, empty basin. Eventually, the Atlantic Ocean broke through, creating a waterfall so massive it refilled the entire sea in less than 2 years. Today, deep layers of salt still lie beneath the seafloor, a hidden memory of a time when the Mediterranean was a silent, salt-crusted void. Fact 43. The radioactivity of the Earth. The heat that keeps the Earth's interior molten doesn't just come from its birth. It comes from the constant decay of radioactive elements like uranium and thorium. Deep in the rocks, these atoms are slowly breaking down, releasing tiny bursts of energy. This nuclear heat is what drives plate tectonics and fuels volcanoes. We are essentially living on a massive, natural nuclear reactor that has been running for billions of years. It is a slow, invisible fire that provides the warmth necessary for a living planet, glowing faintly in the atomic structure of the stone. Fact 44. The petrified lightning, fulgurites. When lightning strikes a sandy beach or desert, the heat is so intense, hotter than the surface of the sun, that it instantly melts the sand into glass. This creates fulgurites, or petrified lightning. They are hollow, root-like tubes of glass that mirror the path of the lightning bolt as it traveled through the ground. It is the ultimate meeting of the sky and the earth, a fleeting moment of atmospheric violence captured and frozen into a permanent geological form, a hollow glass ghost of a storm that passed in a fraction of a second. Fact 45. The oldest water on Earth. Deep in ancient mines, over 2 miles underground, scientists have found pockets of water that have been trapped in the rock for over 2 billion years. This water is incredibly salty and full of dissolved gases, having had no contact with the surface world or the atmosphere since before the first complex life appeared. It is a prehistoric ocean, in a bottle, a liquid that has remained in total darkness and isolation while continents moved and species rose and fell. It is the ultimate time capsule, a sip of a world that existed eons ago. Fact 46. The slate of ancient mud. The slate used in roofs and chalkboards began its life as fine mud at the bottom of a quiet lagoon. Over millions of years, the weight of the water compressed the mud into shale, and then tectonic pressure baked it into slate. This pressure aligned the minerals into perfectly flat layers, allowing the rock to be split into thin, smooth sheets. When you touch a piece of slate, you are touching the flattened, hardened remains of an ancient, peaceful seafloor, transformed by the immense power of the Earth's shifting crust. Fact 47. The mystery of the core's roughness. Recent seismic studies have shown that the boundary between the Earth's liquid outer core and the solid mantle is not smooth. It has mountains and valleys, just like the surface, but inverted. Some areas are flat, while others have jagged peaks that stick up into the mantle. These features are shaped by the swirling currents of molten iron below. It is a landscape of fire and metal, where the weather is a storm of liquid iron and the ground is a superheated silicate, all happening in a world of crushing pressure that we can only see through the echoes of earthquakes. Fact 48. The giant basalt columns. At places like the Giant's Causeway, the Earth has created perfect, hexagonal pillars of stone. This happens when a thick layer of basaltic lava cools very slowly and evenly. As it shrinks, it cracks in a precise geometric pattern, creating thousands of vertical columns that look as if they were carved by hand. It is a rare moment of mathematical perfection in nature. a display of how even the chaotic energy of a volcanic eruption can settle into a calm, orderly, and beautiful structure if given enough time to cool in peace. Fact 49, the tectonic symphony. If we could speed up time, the Earth would look like a living, breathing organism. Continents would dance across the globe, oceans would open and close like gasping breaths, and mountain ranges would ripple across the land like waves. We live in a single frame of this billion-year movie. The stillness we feel tonight is an illusion. We are part of a grand, tectonic symphony that is constantly playing. Every mountain and valley is a note in a song that takes millions of years to finish, a slow and majestic melody of stone. Fact 50, the eternal Earth. As you drift into a deep sleep, consider the ground beneath you. It has survived the impact of asteroids, the freezing of ice ages, and the heat of volcanic eras. It is a resilient, ancient traveler in the vastness of space. The rocks in your backyard, the dust in the wind, and the mountains on the horizon are all part of a single, continuous story that is 4.5 billion years old. You are resting on a foundation of eternity, a peaceful planet that has seen it all and will continue its silent journey through the cosmos long after tonight. The Earth is at rest, and so can you be. Good night, traveler.